Hi, this is Thomas Oldroyd with InsideSales.com. We're very pleased to welcome back for a second year in a row to the Sales Acceleration Summit, Barb Giamanco. She's the co-author of the new handshake, Sales Meets Social Media. She penned the Harvard Business Review article, Tweet Me, Friend Me, Make Me Buy. Her first-of-its-kind research report, Social Media and Sales Quota, proved that social selling does generate revenue. Barbara capped a corporate career at Microsoft, where she led and managed sales teams. Throughout her selling career, Barb has sold $1 billion in products and services. Enlighten us, Barbara.
Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm Barb Giamanco with Social-Centered Selling, here to chat with you briefly about modern-day selling in a socially connected world. It's a pleasure to be part of the Sales Acceleration Summit again this year. And if you are tweeting, feel free to use my Twitter handle at Barbara Giamanco or use the hashtag social selling. Briefly, what you need to know about me is I'm the co-author of the new handshake, Sales Meets Social Media. It's the first book written on social selling. I became an early evangelist back in 2006 about the power of social media to impact sales, as well as marketing, PR, and communications. I've got a proven track record in generating sales, and I capped my corporate career at Microsoft before I started my own business, and I've had the pleasure of working with thousands of salespeople to help them understand how to integrate social practices into strategies that are already working well for them in terms of their current selling efforts. So let's talk about modern-day selling for a minute. It's a little bit different than when I got started back in the day. These days, the game has changed, and one thing that has really become abundantly clear is that access to buyers and decision makers is a big challenge these days. They can block us, whether it's on email or voicemail, right? So they can stop us from getting direct access to them. So what do? Well, you can consider other opportunities like using social networks, LinkedIn or Twitter as an example, to find other opportunities to engage with people in advance of creating those sales opportunities. The Harvard Business Review talked about this in Winning at Sales in a Buyer-Empowered World, and they found that the number one challenge facing sales organizations today are rising customer expectations. What used to work 10, 15 years ago no longer works today. Buyers now don't need us to come in and do the dog and pony show. They have other expectations about what you can bring to their business. In fact, 86% of buyers said they would pay more. Okay, they would pay more for a great customer experience, but only 1% feel that vendors actually deliver. Now, that's pretty sad, but on the other hand, you could look at this as an extreme opportunity. If they'll pay more, don't you want to be in that 99%, right, that delivers? Do you want to be the one that really stands apart from the crowd? Because if only 1% are delivering on expectations from buyers, then you have a huge opportunity to shift the tide in your direction. The other reality today in terms of modern day selling is that buyers are busy. They are busier than ever. And because their time is scarce, the ability to build trust and instill confidence with them really can be rare, and it can take a lot of time. The truth is that buyers making those high-impact decisions are going to gravitate toward the people and the methods that make that confidence building much, much easier. But folks, this isn't working. Broadcast emails, broadcast phone calls, these things are not instilling confidence in the mind of the buyer. You need to do things differently because today's buyer has easy access to unlimited amounts of information. They just don't need the feature dump. By the time they decide to engage with sales, and whether it's corporate executive board or serious decisions, it could be anywhere from 50 7% to 70% of that decision-making process in the early stage of vetting products, services, and companies and people to work with is already being done. Buyers are vetting a short list. It's time to accept that this is a real reality for those of us in sales, and we have to think about how that impacts what we do. Here's the truth of the matter. Buyers aren't looking for people to demo products or to give them, read the features off the spec sheet. Buyers are looking for salespeople who have the ability to help them solve business objectives. In fact, buyers say that's a major influence on their buying decision. Why more people don't approach this from the problem-solving perspective, I'm not sure. But maybe today, if you get just one thing from my conversation, it's this. Buyers can read a spec sheet. They've already read the specs. That doesn't mean you go into a meeting and you don't validate what they know, but to start back at the beginning to assume they know nothing is really a dangerous proposition. Focus your attention on how you can solve business problems and help the customer meet their business objectives. That's what leads to sales. So, we're being blocked. Buyers expect more. They can check out all the information that they need in the early stages of the sales research. So a new approach is definitely needed. When navigating in the online world, which really is a mashup of all the great strategies that work for you offline, whether it's going to participate in networking events, whether it's choosing to be a speaker at a conference or perhaps getting yourself to be invited on a panel. Maybe you're going to do joint webinars with other companies or industry influencers. But at the same time, you have to marry some online approaches with those other strategies. And it all starts with strategy, skills, and execution. You've got to start with a plan. Most people, unfortunately, are jumping straight into the tactical elements, and then they find themselves feeling frustrated when things aren't working quite the way they hoped. Your strategy, your plan, it can be one page, but it's going to identify the key characteristics of the buyer persona. Who's the right buyer for you, your product, and your service? You're going to determine which social channels they're likely to hang out and participate in. Those are the channels you're going to want to find yourself spending time in. You're going to need to determine what are the things you're going to measure and track to be sure that you are successful with what you're doing. Next, learn what you need to learn. And part of being, taking advantage of all these great programs in the Sales Acceleration Summit is you have the opportunity to build those skills. But take classes. It's more than clicking on a few buttons on Twitter or in LinkedIn as an example. You really have to think about how to apply certain tactics to the strategic objectives you are looking to be successful with. And finally, it's the execution, which is no different than anything in sales. It's all about consistent and persistent execution. These are the things that are going to lead you in the direction of success. But remember, technology, the tools, they don't sell for you. So start with the strategy, get the training you need, execute on a consistent basis, but also keep your sales skills fresh, keep them sharp, because buyers are looking for consultative sellers who bring fresh insights to the table and help them solve problems they can't solve on their own, right? So remember that using social to get meetings or to get those early stage conversations going that are going to lead to potential sales opportunities, that's only step one. It's what you do in the meeting that's going to make the difference between moving that opportunity forward to close or not. So here's the truth of the matter. The best reps aren't just present in social media. They position themselves as credible and influential sources in customer networks. And that's what you want to focus your attention on. You want to demonstrate that credibility and capability. You want people to think of you when they have a need, and they'll think of you because you've done a good job not only cultivating relationships, but curating and sharing content that's going to have educational value and relevance for the people in your network. You want to brand yourself. If we know that buyers are going online and seeking out the people and companies they want to work with, they need to find you, and what they find should speak clearly, in fact, shout loudly as to the results you can help them achieve. As I said, you want to demonstrate that thought leadership, and you can do that by sharing rich content from others in your industry or other influencers, your own company content. You can create your own content. It could be publishing a post on LinkedIn. All kinds of ways to demonstrate that thought leadership, but use social channels to give rather than trying to get something. This is not the place for overselling. It's about demonstrating that you're somebody that people will want to work with, and when they have a need, you want them to think of you. But of course, we're in sales. So we're here to build those sales opportunities, and you can use social channels to prospect and build referral opportunities and create lead lists, right, so that you can then follow and share content of the people you're trying to connect and engage with. And you can use social channels as an opportunity to watch for triggers, signals that it might be time to start a conversation. So let's sum it up. It's really not difficult to put some practical activities into daily, consistent activity, right? There are some things you can do every single day that do not have to take a lot of time. Now, when you're going to spend time doing research before you go into a sales call situation, whether it's on the phone or meeting person to person, that will take a little bit longer, certainly, but on a daily basis, you can spend 10 to 15 minutes expanding your network and inviting people to connect. Follow the companies you'd like to do business with. Call 3 people on the lead list that you created. Share content. It could be your own. It could be something from your own company's company page. It could be something that you have found that's written by a news source or publication you trust. But share content. It's a great way to build up credibility with people. Finally, you can participate in groups. You know, when business decision makers are doing that early stage research, we also know that they go into groups and forums and they ask their peers, who should they buy from? They ask about the experience and why people enjoyed working with them. So they're asking their peers who to buy from. And so you want to be thinking about that because you can be demonstrating credibility and capability by answering questions in groups. Now, this is not the place for a sales pitch, but by demonstrating that you are on top of trends and you provide education and add value to the conversations that are happening, people naturally want to know more. So in the end, those salespeople who are using social as part of their sales strategy, they are outperforming their peers. In the Sales and Social Media Quota Report that I put together a couple of years ago with colleague Jim Keenan, we definitely found that close to 74% of those sellers over a 3-year period who integrated social into their sales activities absolutely outperformed their peers, those peers who did not integrate social. This is the way of the world. So make sure that you set yourself up for success through creating the right strategy, getting the right skills, and executing consistently. And finally, merge offline with online. So I'm Barb Giamanco. I'd love the opportunity to connect. Thanks for listening, and please reach out to me anytime if you have questions about navigating in a modern world for digital social selling. Take care, and until next time.